The only other owl that is back in his family is called the bay owl. Those guys live only in southern Asia. They live in like big owl. Does anyone have any questions about Louise here? How old is she? She is about 3 years old. These guys can be between 12 and 15 in a mile, but again, we can double or triple her in captivity. So she has a lot of life in it. The burrowing owl still only lives to about 3 in a while. The cat only lives to about 8 or 4. White color, I believe they're born with down and then when they reach maturity, aside from them being adults,
Where do they nest? Where do they nest?
where do they nest? I believe in the rafters and barns.
Okay. And how many eggs do they lay when they're young?
3-ish,
3? Okay.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
Alright, any other questions? So the reason Louise is trying to fly away here is actually because she misses her fox. She likes how dark it is in there, because she's nocturnal. So I'm going to give her what she wants and put her back in the box. Bring out our next owl. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of owls are nocturnal, so they don't really like the sun. A lot of dinosaurs were nocturnal too, actually. So.
For our next owl, instead of having you guys look at the silhouette, we're going to have you look at a feather. And guess what kind of bird this is.
I should have worn pants.
What do you guys think? Which one do you think might belong to an owl?
The white and brown, light brown one.
Yeah. How can you tell if it belongs to an owl? What might give it away, you think? This shape.
I tried recording on my camera, I kept cutting.
Compared to the other ones, are a lot more straight and narrow. As far, yeah, they have a lot of them compared to these.
I think it's raining.
Where do you think this big one's from?
Little.
Eagle, yeah. That's a little one. You might see a little green name tag. It's from a prairie falcon. The falcons, they'll have very long, narrow wings, and they can fly very fast. You guys want to feel them, you feel like the eagle feathers are really stiff. Because they actually have so much weight on them, and so much force they have in the tail. The prairie falcons got these softer feathers, they're still pretty stiff. You feel the owl feather as like a downy, soft silk. You can see these ones are barely blowing all over them.
Okay, I'm going to bring out our next owl. Has anyone correctly guessed what owl we got here? Yeah? Long-eared owl is a good guess. That is similar to the name. Yes. A long-eared owl are a lot thinner and a lot smaller than this.
I'm good.
Now this is a
The owl
great
feather
horned
is
owl.
really soft compared to
Can
the
anyone
others.
tell me whether this is a male or a female great horned owl?
That one's way
I
softer.
promise it is much more difficult. You guys probably have no way of knowing. Yeah? Male is a good guess. This is a female great horned owl. And the way you guys can tell is she's a little bit bigger than the male. She doesn't only really a trained eye or any arm could tell you. So in the birds of prey world, the females are larger, heavier, and they have a bit more attitude than the males. But the size part is a lot less important than the weight part. So willow here is about 3.3 pounds, which opposed to about 2.5 to 3 pounds for male. You can really tell the difference when you're holding. Now, does anyone know what a great horned owl likes to eat?
Mice?
Mice. It's a good guess. They might eat a mouse, but think bigger.
A squirrel?
Squirrel's a good guess. Gopher's a good guess. Yeah. Birds, occasionally. Actually, they will occasionally eat some of the other owls I've been showing you. Bunnies is close, actually, but think blacker, a little bit a little bit white still and smells very, very bad. Skunks. These guys love to eat skunks. Obviously, we would never let that happen to these guys. But in the wild, these guys love to eat skunks. That is because their senses of smell are so absolutely horrendous that they can't tell. But somehow they've managed to figure out that skunks smell that anyway, because when they have their babies, they will take a skunk and they will leave it in the tree to deter predators.
Wow.
Oh, ain't that interesting?
Now, we get a lot of these guys in a year as rescued babies. That is because these guys will steal their nests from other birds, like songbirds or anything like that, and they don't do any repair work. Birds of prey in general are incredibly energy efficient, which is a nice way of saying lazy, which means they will do nothing to protect their children from the nest falling apart, or, as we like to call it, Alberta winds.
Yeah.
Which, as you can imagine, leads to us getting quite a few rescued baby great horned owls in a year. You can see we've got 4 of them in the hawk walk at the moment. They are 3 to 4 months old. But yeah, these guys, since we raised them, that is why we are not releasing them to the wild anytime soon. These guys never learned to hunt. They never learned to fly, even though they figured it out on their own. But one thing that they never learned how to do is actually exist in great horned owl culture. These guys never really learned social cues for the great horned owls. So these horns that they have here, you may have noticed, whether or not our owls have them up is entirely a matter of personal preference. We've got one called Blathers who never has his up. We've got one called Maple who always has hers up. In the wild, though, it would be a sign of seeing something they don't like. These guys just never learn that because we raised them. Another thing that these guys, yes?
Have you ever seen them run?
Run? No, these guys don't like to move much.
Alright.
So another thing that we taught them, and therefore they don't know when they're supposed to do it, is hooting. So in the wild, hooting is a mating call for these guys. But these guys don't know that, so they usually do it when they're angry. Now that tends to bother some of the wild great horned owls we have out here. We've got actually 3 to 4 families of wild great horned owls within about 50 feet of us. If you look very, very, very closely, you may spot one. Now, since these guys bother our wild great horned owls so much, they will occasionally come in and try to swoop at them, which is why we have the net over the hawk wall. Most people think it's to keep our birds in, but it's actually to keep other birds out. Now, you guys might notice Willow here has been looking around quite interestingly. Does anyone know what the range of motion on an owl's head is? Yes? 180. These guys can actually do 270 degrees, which means they can move their heads so far left they're looking right and vice versa.
That's why it's terrifying so much.
Though it's a good training for them. You don't often see them go further than 180. Yeah. Yes?
How long are their legs? Because I've seen a lot of owl skeletons with really long
They're
legs.
still quite long compared to the length of their feathers, but not as long as they were.
Alright.
I'm not 100% sure. So, yes. So, does anyone know why they develop the ability to move their heads like that? Yeah? That is true. That is true. But there's actually another reason. Now, you may not be able to tell, but these guys, they don't have eyeballs. These guys don't have eyeballs. So, they actually have more like eye cones, or eye tubes, which means they can't rotate their eyes in their heads like we can. So instead, they develop the ability to rotate their entire heads to compensate. These guys have about twice the amount of vertebrae in their neck as we do. Humans have about 7 around here, and these guys have about 14. If you've ever seen an owl skeleton at a museum or anything, you might notice they're all quite squished together.
Yeah.
Which looks quite goofy, but it does help to look around so well. Yeah. Does anyone know how long you guys live in the wild? I think it's just how old Willow is. Hen is a good guess. She's actually only about 3. So, these guys were babies when some of our employees here were still working here. So some of us have had the opportunity to raise these guys. But these guys live to be about 15 in the wild. But in captivity, you can double or triple it. We've got one called Gordon in the Hawkwalk, who is 23 at the moment. He is older than I am. And he is showing no signs of wear. Does anyone have any questions about our great horned owl? Yes? They don't actually have horns. It's probably just tops and feathers. It's called horns.
I believe that is
Any other
right.
questions? Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to bring out our last bird.
I explained where the bugs came from.
Very happy about Okay. Has anybody noticed the general trend for the bringing up? So, does anyone have any guesses as to what our last word is? Yeah? Small. Any guesses to that?
Poor grandma.
You guess great gray owl. Which is why I'm assuming it's probably going
It started raining so bloody quick. You want some joint Australia?
This is Snickers. Now, does anyone know what kind of bird this is?
They're very small.
Yeah, that's true. This is a northern saw-whet owl. Now, this is the second smallest owl in North America, next only to the pygmy owl that is so small we can't find it. So does anyone know where these guys tend to live? Gopher holes. Gopher holes is a good guess. These guys actually like to live in trees. So the great horned owls will live on the same trees these guys live in, which occasionally makes these guys a snack. What's that?
I had no clue it was gonna rain.
Now, does anyone notice anything about Snickers' legs that he might have in common with our great horned owls that he might have different to our other owl? Does not have shorts on. So, yes, he has snow pants on. He's got feathers on his feet all the way down to his talons, which means this guy's a cold weather bird. Just like our great horned owl, which I didn't mention. Now, you guys might notice Snickers here is a bit more wide-eyed than some of our other owls. He's got huge pupils. Now, does anyone have any guesses as to why that is? Yeah? So that he can see predators? Good guess. And actually, quite possibly. But it's actually because he's choosing to. So, owls have manual control over the size of their pupils, which means they get to choose the size. They also have individual control, which means they can make one of them big and the other very small. Now, another thing you might notice is he's got 2 of his toes in front and 2 of his toes in the back. Now, if you were to have 3 of his toes in front and 1 in the back, that would be he was punching me. But at the moment, he's just perching. So he's got the 2 in the front. Now, these guys have an opposable thumb, sort of like humans do.
That's cool.
Now, does anyone know what these guys like to eat? Yeah? Insects. Good guess. These guys like to eat bigger than the burrowing owls. These guys like to eat voles, which is a small rodent.
Huh?
Now, I'm going to say a big scientific word, and I'm going to have one of you guess what that means, and then I'm going to tell you you're wrong. So, the word is serial polyandry. Does anyone know what that word means? Any guesses? Yeah? It's not necessarily a gene. It's actually the way way they breed. So, when their babies reach maturity, when they get their adult feathers, the mother will abandon the father to take care of them and go have babies with another male before the breeding season ends. And he's pooped on me for the second owl talk in a row. Thank you, Snickers. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the saw-whet owl?
No.
How old is he? He's about a year old. So we got these guys in as babies last year. That's big. So he is fully grown? You get fully grown after having about 6 months. Yes? Not this one. Unfortunately, since we have so few of these guys, it's too valuable to raise anyway. This is actually our first year of having Northern Saw-whet owl. We're very excited about it. Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to wrap up our owl talk. If you liked it, my name is Rye. If you didn't like it, my name is Bob. You guys have a great rest of your time here.
Thank you.
Thank you.